Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today's Friday, April 25th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm here in Houston, Texas, my hometown. Of course, speaking tonight at a gala here, so looking forward to that. Lots we're going to talk about, including a black man in Alabama dead who is suffering a mental health crisis. We'll talk to Lee Merritt, the attorney for the family. Also, ActBlue is being targeted by Donald Trump, accusing them of accepting money from foreign entities. Seems to me like he's targeting the folks who are successfully raising millions of dollars for Democrats. In Milwaukee, a circuit court judge arrested by the FBI, accusing her of trying to assist someone that ICE was looking for. It's the most illogical thing you've heard. They now are arresting judges. Also, folks, we lost a great one, Alexis Herman. She is the former labor secretary under President Bill Clinton, activist, corporate board member, just a phenomenal sister. She passed away this morning. We will honor her life and legacy right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. It's time to bring the funk on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah.
I love it.
Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Another disturbing example of what happens when cops should not be showing up when someone is having a mental health crisis. Folks, video out of Decatur, Alabama, shows John Daniel Scott Jr., a 39-year-old community mentor, according to his loved ones, gave his life to help others. In this body cam footage, total time is 30 minutes long. And the interaction between Scott and these police officers was civil. Officers told Scott his options were to go to the hospital or jailed. And when that happened, everything shifted.
All my guys, I'm their supervisor, okay? This is what I need you to do. Mr. Ford. I need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back, okay? We're working really hard, but we've got to get out of here.
All right, we're not going to hurt you.
We've been here for over an hour.
We got to go. Turn around.
Can I get this? Let me just get a hit.
Just turn around.
Hold on 1 second, sir.
This John. Relax, John.
All right, sit. I got sit. Sorry. Sit. I'm sorry. Hold on. Hey. I'm sorry. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, guys. I said I'll do whatever Sid wants.
Well, then you're going to go all the way inside, not here.
Can I? Hold on. 1636. Ah, shit. Hold on. Sid. I trust Sid.
Okay, then get in there.
All right. I'm trying to get situated right quick. Sid.
I got you. Here, I'll help you get in.
Ah, shit. Hold on. Hey, bro.
John.
Good, brother? Hold on. Help me out.
Dude, come here.
I'm trying to... All right, I'm trying to get... All right, that's here right there. Hold on, 1636. Come on. Rutherford. Sorry, I'm sorry. Make sure, hold on, I just want to make sure we're recording.
Yes, we are.
We're recording. Sir, we're all recording. 1636. Got it. Hold on 1 second. All right, one more time. All right, let me turn this one. All right. Let me turn around for me. I'll be loud. Hold on. I just want to make sure you're good. It's recording. Turn around 1636.
Wait, John. Wait, John.
Come on, John. Come on, man.
There you go. John, wait.
Shit. Fuck.
Stand up. Stand up.
1636. I got time. Ah, shit. Ah, my neck. My neck. Oh, shit. My neck. Ah.
John.
Sorry. Ah.
Turn over.
Police. Turn over. That's not nice. Sorry. I'm trying. Ah. No. Ah. 1636. I'm sorry, police. No. Ah.
John,
1636. Oh.
He's got to hold it.
I got him. I'm sorry, sir.
Turn around.
No. Ah.
Let go, man.
1636.
John.
Police. Ah. I'm sorry. Do it. Sorry.
Turn around.
Hands behind your back.
Turn around. Turn around on your belly.
On your belly.
I'm trying.
On your belly.
Oh! I'm so Stay right there. Don't move.
Don't move.
Sorry, 36. Don't move.
Put your hands behind your back. Now.
I'm trying. Put it behind your back. Stop. Don't turn it. Don't turn
around.
I'm trying.
Give me your hand.
I want to do. You got one? Yeah.
I got one. Thank you, Lord. All right. Hold on.
Give me his arm. John, give me his arm. Give me the arm, John.
Hold that. Hold that.
There you go.
I got this one back here.
It's behind. He's grabbing my fucking thigh. Let go of my fucking thigh. I'm pushing the face.
No.
Give me your arm.
1636. Give me
your
your
arm.
hand.
There. I'm gonna.
All right. 1636. Slippery. Get your other arm behind your back. Come on, man. Don't punch you in the fucking face if you don't do it.
I got this one. I got this
Put your
one.
arm back there.
Oh, shit.
Behind your fucking. Give us that arm.
Sorry.
Use your fucking arm.
Drive stun.
Drop stun, drop stun, drop stun. 1636.
Give me your arm. He's not feeling anything.
Dude, I'll give him another. Give him another strike. No!
Give me your arm.
1636! Give it. Oh, shit.
Give me your arm.
I'm good.
Give your arm.
1636. We good.
John! Give us your goddamn arm.
Oh, move your hand. 1636. We good. We good. 1636. We good.
I got his arm behind me. Somebody grab it.
Sorry, no.
Somebody grab it.
Help, 1636. I'm grabbing. I'm on it. He's holding on to me. He's holding on to me.
I'm on his arm.
Come on, man. Give us your hand.
I'm on his arm.
He's holding on to me. He's stuck.
Just bend it. There you go.
Yeah, hook it up.
We need more handcuffs. Hang on.
Fucking shit. You got it? I can't breathe.
Put that one on there, Wallace.
Come on, man. We'll get us out of there. We can turn you over. Come on. His wrists are too fucking big.
Make it work.
I got it.
Yeah, I see it.
I got it.
Hey, let it go. Let it go.
I got it.
All right, he's on. They're on.
Sorry, hold on. Oh, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. Hold on. He can get his arms all the way around in front of him.
He can? All right.
Yes, take that off. Pedro, hold that one.
I got it.
Stand by. I can't breathe. 1636. Can't breathe.
Here, just put it right here for now. Can you?
Shit. Get this one. We're at Brookridge.
In. You're in. You're in.
He's grabbing the cuff. It's double lock this. Stop grabbing it.
Stop, John. Are these double locks?
What's the?
I got it. I got this one.
That one. Is that your car? Yeah. Bring it right here. 1636. We're good.
They're double locked.
Oh no. Hey, 16 minutes. Who's it is? We'll sort it out in a minute. There's somebody's Apple Watch.
Mine. Fuck you shit.
All right. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Hold up. It's going to pick up straight into your car. Up. Right there. Here. I got it. 16. I'll see you later. 1636. All right. Hold on. Pedro, we're going to lift. Put him in the car. Wait, let's see. 16 going north. Get up. 1636. No. Boy.
Somebody go on the other side. Carnes. His legs are still in the air. We're good.
Yeah.
My neck, no.
think I broke my hand. Okay. Hold on, got this. Keeps grabbing Pedro's shit. He's holding on. That's what he was doing to me. I can't breathe. Get your big ass up in the car. Now. Now. Come on, man. Get us, you son of a bitch. Come on, brother. Down here, brother. Get off. Hold up. I'm trying. Now. Breathe. I gotta breathe. On my leg. Get 1636. Watch. Stop. Tuck myself. John, get your ass up. I'm trying hard. Quit grabbing my officers. You understand me? I can't breathe. Stand up. You can breathe. Come on, man. Just get in the back of the seat. Cards, come here. Push him. Get him in there. Oh, that's 16. Oh, my God. Somebody go back there. I got him. 1636. Boys. Can't breathe. Sorry. The next and that. Come on, man. Shine the light if you're so. Sir! Help me, sir. Gassy. You pull that fucking seatbelt. Oh, shit. Hey, punch him in the fucking. 1636. Oh, stop doing that shit. Get a spit hood now. It's in right there. Right here, Wallace. Map pocket, front door. Okay. You do it again, I'm punching you. Yes. Map pocket. Give me the spit hood. I can't unhook the seatbelt. Okay. I can't breathe. Seatbelt. Oh, I got the seatbelt. Let's go. I can't breathe, bro. I'm a fear. Get your ass in here. Sorry. I can't breathe. Oh, boys. I can't breathe. Boys. Thank you. Thank you. 1636. Boys. Sorry. I nearly go kicking me. I'm pushing that.
Folks, just stunning and shocking video there. The next morning, Scott was dead. His family and the community are demanding answers and accountability. Now, the Madison County Sheriff's Office is leading the investigation, and the Decatur Police Department says they're reviewing the case. Joining us now, civil rights attorney Lee Merritt, who's representing the Scott family. First and foremost, Lee, why were the cops called? What was Scott allegedly doing?
LJ, as he's affectionately known by his family, had a few interactions with police that day. He was in the midst of a mental health crisis. One had to do with his mom's phone that he had hidden, and he thought she was mad at him, so he called the police on himself. There was another moment that his mother, Paulette, called the police. But this was a mental health crisis that the police, by the time they arrived, they had more or less resolved. And Mom said she would like to see him go to the hospital, but there was no other reason for him to have any encounter with the police. And so they stayed around to help.
So there were several issues with the cops on that day.
When you say there were several phone calls to 911 about LJ's behavior that day, about his mental health crisis, and whether or not he could be forcibly taken to a mental health facility.
So, you see, this is a perfect example of what we're always talking about. So the cops know there is an issue with someone having a mental health issue, but again, they're doing use of force. That's not why you call the cops, for a mental health issue. And this speaks to the problem that we keep seeing happening over and over and over again. A mental health call ends in the death of a black man.
Right. There is a mental health resource officer within the Decatur Police Department there in Alabama. That resource officer was available that day. For whatever reason, that officer was not used in this case. The officers on scene decided to create a false choice for LJ. They said either go to the hospital, which they could not force him to do, or go to jail, because they found, after being with him for hours that day, they found a warrant in another county for a failure to appear on a traffic ticket, a relatively minor warrant. They said, we don't care about it. They told that to him and his family. They said, you just go to the hospital and you can take care of that afterwards. Because he wasn't willing to go to the warrant because of his to the hospital because of his manic episode, they decided to take him to jail. He was never booked on any particular charge. In fact, from my records, he was never booked into the jail at all. And I'm more interested in what happened at the jail. You mentioned in the opening that he died the next day. The truth is he was in the ICU for the next 7 days before he was taken off the life support on Tuesday.
The police chief issued a statement. Chief Natus Carlisle Jr. Said on April 15, 2025, John Daniel Scott Jr. was arrested on an outstanding Morgan County failure to appear warrant following a series of incidents likely linked to both medical and mental health struggles compounded by suspected drug-induced psychosis. He later says, in the interest of transparency and accountability and maintaining public trust, I formally requested independent investigative assistance from the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and there are other things that he stated here. So here's my question here for you, Lee. Was an autopsy done on Scott, and what were the results?
The medical examiner for Decatur just completed the autopsy yesterday. Our office took custody of Mr. Scott's body, and we performed a private autopsy earlier today. I'm expecting to have my initial report by the end of the day, and it's something that, obviously I'll be sharing with you and the general public once we have that information. No cause of death. Point.
No. So when the chief says suspected drug-induced psychosis, what are they offering as evidence of that?
And I thank you for asking that question. It seems that the chief imputed both this idea of drug-induced psychosis on his own. He also, in that letter, mentions a debunked theory called excited delirium. It's been particularly debunked in Alabama, but of course the AMA, the American Medical Association, the Psychiatric Association, says there's no such thing. But when a black man or black person dies in custody, they're often labeled victims of excited delirium, minimizing the force that was used against them and all the trauma that he went through in custody, in this case, the failure to provide medical care to someone who was obviously injured and in need of help.
Well, again, this just goes to, again, what we keep saying, why you've got to have medical professionals who are out making these calls, because they handle that differently. And last question for you, when we showed the video there's an ambulance on the scene. So why is it being put? Why are so many cops putting him in the back of a police car?
They decided that they were going to act on the warrant because they don't understand mental health. Is my excuse that I'm giving them. That because he chose not to go into the ambulance, they figured he didn't that he should be punished, not understanding that his inability to go to the hospital, which he needed to do, was an example of his psychosis, was an example of his manic state. They just were not interested in getting him help after he decided, in their opinion, willfully not to go with the ambulance. At that time, they decided they needed to punish him.
All right. Lee Merritt, we appreciate it. Keep us abreast of any more details.
Thank you. We'll do.
Got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr. It's a rare occasion when a course taught in high school becomes a topic of national conversation, let alone a burning controversy. But that's exactly what happened with Advanced Placement African American Studies, courtesy of a certain Southern governor who's taking offense. On our next show, we take you inside the classroom for an up-close look at the course through the eyes of the teachers that teach it, the students that are taking it, and the communities that surround them.
And so many of the kids we saw, the truth. And, it just impacts those kids in such a big way.
A master teacher roundtable on the next Black Table that you do not want to miss, right here on the Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, our panel, Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Derek, this is the thing that people have been clamoring for quite some time, of resources, local departments going to police where you have mental health professionals and not cops responding to these calls. Police are going to respond always with an act of force.
Yeah, Roland, I mean, it's unfortunate that John Daniel Scott Jr. is no longer with us. He should still be here with us. But we have a climate, just take the statistics since the last 8 years, where we continue to see an escalation of fatal shootings and killings when citizens, innocent citizens, encounter with law enforcement. I had to do some more research just to stay current, but it says here that sadly the trend of fatal police shootings in the United States seems to be increasing. 1,173, that's 1,173 civilians as of last year. Specifically, 248 were Black as of last year. And this rate continues to increase amongst Black Americans by 12% annually. And so when you have that kind of climate, it doesn't just mean shootings, it just deadly force, excessive force. They completely did not adhere to what John Daniel Scott Jr. was asking. He said, I couldn't breathe. And the police officer was saying, yes, you can breathe. When you got the paramedics right there, they did not give no service to him. This is a complete example where law enforcement is not demonstrating humanity. They're not demonstrating some of the training that are based on police protocol and procedures. And so this is one of those unfortunate incidents we continue to see over and over again. And again, I'm going to keep calling his name, along with many others. John Daniel Scott Jr. should still be alive. Unfortunately, he was killed in the hands of law enforcement, and that should not be here in 2025.
I just don't understand why we continue to be at this place, Matt. Story after story, Rochester, Dallas, St. Louis. We go on and on and on, and it unfortunately seems to always end this way.
It does, and it's ironic that we're talking about this today. I'm in Long Beach right now, having just finished a conference for civil rights lawyers, and the famed John Burris was just talking about excited delirium about 2 hours ago. So, this is a tragic reality that we see across the United States, and I've actually had a case like this involving the police department response where they did not come out with a crisis intervention team when they knew at the beginning that it was a mental health call. Because one of the things that we see in this case that is not present in every case is in a lot of cases they come on scene and then learn that there's a mental health issue. Here, my understanding is they started with that knowledge from the beginning. So one of the things we need to be talking about, which I think we've talked about on the show before, is making sure that local governments and state governments are allocating the appropriate money for there to be crisis intervention teams with the police, because what happens a lot of times is police officers are sent out to situations they just don't have the requisite training to handle. And I think that's evident in this video, because if you watch in this video, they continue to threaten him in the circumstances where they obviously got exasperated, despite knowing that it was purely a mental health issue. And when you have that kind of situation, you have people who end up dying in circumstances where they either never should have been taken into custody at all, or they should only be detained long enough for an appropriate mental health professional to help de-escalate the situation. So this is not only an individual failure by this police department, but it's a systemic failure insofar as we are just not allocating nearly enough money for mental health resources when it's obvious that someone is in the throes of a mental health crisis, which was evident here with Mr. Scott.
So when people were talking about defund the police, Michael, they were talking about shifting resources away from police departments and to mental health professionals in cases like this, and people complained about it. Well, this is the result.
Yeah, you know, Roland, there was money that was allocated actually under the Biden-Harris administration towards things just like this here to prevent deaths like this. Now, it was implemented at various levels by the 18,500 police departments. But, you know, something when you said, one of the things I was wondering was, okay, do they have any police officers that are trained to deal with mental health patients? Because I can, just to give an example, I could tell you here in the city of Detroit, I know probably a larger city than Decatur, Alabama, but we have police officers trained to deal with mental health patients, okay, to prevent things like this from happening. And then the other thing I was wondering, it said that, reading one of the articles, it said that John Daniel Scott Jr. was transported by medical at approximately 10:10, I think it was p.m., and he had been there at the jail for a little over an hour or so. And I was wondering, why wasn't he provided with some type of medical examination or mental examination shortly after arriving there? Because this was the result of a mental health call. So it seems like there's some type of disconnect here on multiple levels. But once again, this is he should still be alive.
Absolutely. And again, this is why there has to be changes in public policy when we talk about mental health crises. This continues to happen. Unfortunately, it is leading to deaths. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. More on today's show, including these idiots in the Trump administration arresting a Milwaukee judge. Wait till we explain to you exactly what happened. Also, the targeting of ActBlue. Donald Trump does not want to see this massive fundraising vehicle for progressives to continue. We'll unpack that as well right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Stunt Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. If you want to support via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Also, the QR code can be used for credit cards as well. Check and money orders, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mail them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be, it's going to be good.
Well, folks, we told y'all Donald Trump is all about retribution. It's all about targeting people. The twice impeached, criminally convicted felon, con man Donald Trump now issued an executive order calling for the Department of Justice to investigate the progressive fundraising group ActBlue, alleging that they receive money from foreign actors. Now, there's no evidence to back this up. ActBlue has raised upwards of $5 billion for progressive candidates and also causes and organizations. And really, this is about Republicans wanting to cripple Democrats and their fundraising mechanism. The Justice Department has 180 days to report back. ActBlue and Democratic leaders are firing back, calling the investigation blatantly unlawful and an attempt to silence grassroots donors and give more power to wealthy interests. I mean, this ain't hard. This is pretty much what the hell he's trying to do. He absolutely wants to stop or as they cripple this fundraising juggernaut in order to hurt Democratic candidates, foundation, causes, organizations, and other people that utilize the ActBlue platform to raise money. That's what this is all about, Derek.
Roland, this is a perfect example when the Supreme Court said that, hey, we're going to allow for money to be part of this political process. The Democrats' response was, all right, let's go 100% with ActBlue. And this was a perfect example, too, how I'm going back to Barack Obama. As you well know, Roland, you were very instrumental getting the word out. How these $5, $10 contributions, it was a real click, and you can provide your campaign candidate of choice some money. ActBlue was a perfect conduit to help us facilitate these grassroots campaign donations. And as you've already articulated as well, the billions and billions of dollars that us Democrats were able to leverage to get in office, win office, and stay in office. And so this is just another way for that orange dude to try to cripple our capability to raise money and to fight against individuals like him and other MAGAs and that's running for office to counteract how they funnel their money, right? I mean, if we want to talk about something that's illegal that should be investigated, let's talk about the things that Musk was doing that was completely illegal. And they did it with the television rolling, going. I mean, Roland, listen, they're on tape, both video and audio, how he was doing things illegal. So if they want to investigate something, let's investigate that.
Michael, we know what this is. We see what this is. We know how Donald Trump moves and operates. And look, all he has done is issue illegal executive orders. It is all about creating chaos.
Well, I would expect illegal executive orders from a 34-time convicted felon, thug criminal like Donald Trump. So at the very same time when his approval ratings are falling, Pew Research just reported that Trump job approval, 59% of Americans surveyed disapprove of his job. This is the worst job approval for a president in recent time, coming up on their first 100 days in office. And at the same time, ActBlue's president sent out, Regina Wallace-Jones sent out a email today to their donors, and she talked about how the platform had raised $400 million during the first 3 months of 2025. So Donald Trump is trying to cripple the Democrats' ability to raise money, because he knows Republicans are in trouble when it comes to 2026 midterm elections. He knows that the stock market is in free fall, and he's coming for them. But this is another attack, so we have to fight this as well. But this was expected, and ActBlue said they expected this attack also.
Well, absolutely. That's what you're seeing. And just to understand how these thugs operate, let's talk about what happened today in Milwaukee. Well, fellow authorities arrested a Milwaukee County Circuit Judge, saying she tried to assist a migrant from escaping federal authorities. Now, her supporters say she told the individual to leave out a side door, and that's the justification they actually gave for the arrest. Friday morning, Judge Hannah Dugan was formally charged with felony obstruction. They allege she assisted the individual in evading immigration and custom enforcement agents on April 18th. Now, this is the first time a local official has faced criminal charges under Trump's second administration. Now, here's the deal. They had an administrative warrant, not a criminal warrant, an administrative warrant. And so that's what they were using as the basis for this arrest. Well, Michael, when you start arresting judges, to all the people who are saying, well, he's not going to be that bad, here you go.
You have amnesia of the first time in office, because the first time in office was horrible. This is lawlessness on steroids. This is even worse. Let's I always give the test. If you think it's not this bad, what would you do if Barack Obama did the same damn thing? Would you sit here and say, oh, it's not that bad for Barack Obama to have judges arrested? It's not that bad for Barack Obama to attack the Republican National Convention's or the Republican National Committee's #1 online fundraising platform? It's not that bad for Barack Obama to release convicted domestic terrorists that tried to overthrow the government and give 1,500 pardons. It's not that bad. So, this is more lawlessness here, but this is designed to intimidate judges who various cases are going to go before, possibly, because we know there have been about 130 lawsuits or so filed against the Trump administration. In the past week or so, the NAACP has filed a lawsuit against the Department of Justice, including Linda McMahon, regarding their DEI policies. So this is more thuggery and lawlessness, but this is what you get when you elect a 34-time convicted felon.
Obviously, there were protests. People were showing up at the courthouse, Derek. And I mean, when you just sit here and look at this, all you can do is just shake your head. But when you're dealing with a thug, this is how thugs operate.
Roland, some people in our circle, they were saying, well, we didn't see this in Project 2025. They probably weren't. I don't know what Project 2025 they were reading, but this was all outlined in Project 2025. In my humble opinion, Project 2025 says we're going to go against the Constitution. We're going to go against the rule of law. We're going to go against, we're going to consolidate the three branches of government. We're going to go after the 13th Amendment. We're going to go after the 14th Amendment. We're going to go after the 15th Amendment. We're going to go after civil rights protections. We're going to go after voting rights. Project 2025, Roland, said it all. So we should not be surprised that a presidential mob boss is unleashing the DOJ, the FBI, federal marshal, and everyone else at his disposal. You have a Republican Party that's willing to go as far as they need to go to carry out whatever. Man, it's getting exhausting to say unprecedented, but this is unprecedented. This is unconstitutional. This goes against the rule of law. This goes against the very tenets of our society. You starting to arrest judges? This is an example, as Michael said, this demonstrated intimidation, because another judge said, we're going to hold you in contempt. And so this is a trial balloon to tell all the other judges, if you come across me, I'm going to have you arrested. And ain't nobody going to put me in check. There are no safeguards. There are no guardrails with this dude right now, because you have a Republican Party who's just going to remain silent and just let this thing run amok.
Matt, we kept trying to tell people that this is what this thug was going to do, and the thug is showing exactly who he is.
He's showing exactly who he is, I think, a lot faster than people expected he might do that, and a lot more substantially than he might do that. And I didn't get a chance to hear what Michael said. He's usually right, so I'm sure he was right this time. But I echo a lot of what Derek said, particularly because right now you not only have a crisis of just straight-up intimidation, but you've also got a crisis of federalism. What did Republicans say forever? They wanted local control, right? How many times have we talked on this show about how they've attacked, low-level state boards and local boards for the purpose of basically getting their tentacles out into the communities in terms of their policy? I tell you that to say this. I mean, theoretically, this judge should have sovereignty to do whatever is appropriate in her courtroom, because generally the way it's set up is the judge is the one controlling that little fiefdom that's their courtroom. If the federal government now says you cannot do that, right, because you're subject to what we think is appropriate in our policy, and if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to come in and arrest you, that's not only purely intimidation, but it's also indicative of the idea that we don't care about any boundaries. The only boundaries that exist are the boundaries that we say exist, not the boundaries of state law, not the boundaries of jurisdiction. I mean, that's what you see, right? When you look at the president, usually the president doesn't have any involvement in local matters. And I know here, this was the FBI arresting this judge, but that's really a subterfuge. The bigger thing is the Trump administration is trying to make it exceedingly clear that they hold all the cards, they exert all the power, and they don't care what the alleged power structure or constitutional power structure actually sets up. They're going to do whatever they want. They're going to run roughshod over those boundaries, and a judge in her courtroom does not have the authority, despite all those years of saying local control, that she has constitutionally under the Wisconsin Constitution and statutes.
All right, folks, so we come back. In Missouri, they passed a law that enshrines reproductive rights. Well, the Republicans want to overturn that. And, man, there's one sister, let's just say, she went hard against this bill. We'll show you what she had to say. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
So, voters in Missouri approved what is known as Amendment 3, which enshrined reproductive rights in the Constitution. Now, Republicans In the House, they are introducing a constitutional amendment that would ban abortion. The new measure allows exceptions for medical emergencies, fatal anomalies, and for survivors of rape and incest within the first 12 weeks of gestation. Now, the vote passed 94 to 50 after a 4-hour debate. Well, man, let me tell you something. Democrat Rachel Prouty, representing Ferguson, was having none of it and just simply called these proposals ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know who we think we are to assume that the people did not know what they were voting for on the same day they voted for us. I suppose they knew what they were voting for when they voted for us, but I would beg to differ, given that I've seen some of you all throw back a few at night. I've heard some of you talk about Jesus on this floor and talk about a woman's hind parts down at the bar. Who do we think we are? I've heard some of you read out loud. Now all of a sudden we know what's best for the people. It's funny when we dilly-dally and choose when the people know best and when they can't. We use meritocracy so much in here, we think that that's actually how we got here. This is not a meritocracy. This is a popularity contest. Meritocracy is how those people who perform abortions got their job. I don't need you to sympathize with me. I need you to mind your business. I don't want sympathy. Leave me alone with for privacy until it's women. I want to get pregnant. I don't know if I have to ask the governor first, because obviously my vagina is not mine. It belongs to the state of Missouri, apparently. I am sick and tired of people who think an IUD is a landmine, telling me that the people I live by didn't understand what they were voting for. When some of us don't know the difference between a hysterectomy and a mastectomy. Is getting old and is getting tired. They knew enough to vote for you. We got to pay for people's penis pills. I wouldn't even be halfway amenable if we said that we were going to stop paying for abortions if y'all leave us alone. You think you're stopping abortions with these ridiculous bills? You're not. You're stopping safe, legal abortions. People are going to still have abortions. So if you want to be pro-life, let's try being pro-quality of life first. This is the same body who wants to demand senior citizens work so that they can get unemployment or disability or have to apply for jobs. What are we talking about here? We're so busy being dystopian, we do very little for quality of life. You want to do something for the children? Do something for those foster kids. Let's close down these so-called religious rants where they feeling on the children. Let's do that first. Stop making it seem like a woman's worth is just between her legs. For God's sake, goodness gracious. We just had a hearing talking about abortion where we would charge a victim of rape and incest with murder while her rapist would get less time for violating her human rights. And y'all have the nerve to sit here and talk about science and think the world is 2,000 years old. And y'all gonna tell me about science. The same people who say, I don't believe in pronouns. I is a pronoun. Meritocracy. Power is to the people, and there should be some humility around here when we sit here and talk about what people don't understand. The only thing that people don't understand is the way y'all flip when you get here, telling them that you would be their voice when you get here. and then you decide to do the will of the people who write you checks. That's all I have to say, Mr. Speaker, because I know that my party is going to read some of the testimony that the people weren't able to get when we heard this nonsense. The sixth iteration, this bill has more ups and downs than the bankhead bouncing you talking about has been vetted. Which version of it? It was slaw and trash then, and it's slaw and trash now. And just no one understand, we're not going to stop. The will of the people is going to continue. And in the event the governor signs it, it'll be me outside with them clipboards getting the signatures again, like we did after y'all did this foolishness in 2019, where I had to sit and tell my colleague there is no such thing as consensual rape. But y'all know better. The people didn't know better. But consensual rape and calling rapists gentlemen. We're going to put it back on the ballot, and we're going to overturn this again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy, Derek, that the voters in Missouri go to the ballot, they approve a measure, and the Republicans come back and go, yeah, y'all know what the hell y'all doing, so we're going to actually push forth our own a law.
You know, first off, that sister read them their rights in the right way. But we know, Roland, that this is something that the Republicans playbook from the federal level down to the state level. You know, this is one of those, oops, my bad, I didn't know the stove was hot. Oops, my bad, I didn't know that this executive order was going to disrupt Harvard. Oops, we didn't know by taking out funding from USAID, hundreds of folks already died over in Congo, in Sudan. Oops, my bad. I didn't know that these are the people that are managing our warheads. Oops, right? This is just crazy, Roland. This is like the horrible Hollywood film that we keep watching these Republicans. We got to call them out at all levels of government because they continue to do these things and they don't think that we're going to call them out on it, right? I watched another example of a sister by the name of Jasmine Crockett. And I was watching C-SPAN, Roland, yesterday, and she called them out. How dare you going to talk about you all want to go after law, and you got a 34 convicted felon president. How are you not going to bring these citizens back from El Salvador? This goes more beyond just saying oops. And so I appreciate that sister laying it out. Typically, as you well know, Roland, we don't often use words like vagina in the chamber. We don't typically, right? But we gotta, goes beyond just decorum. This goes beyond just diplomacy. We gotta hit them where they are and make it real. And I appreciate she was straight with no chaser on this one.
I just don't understand, Matt, what's the whole point of there being a constitutional amendment that voters voted on and passed overwhelmingly, and then you come back and propose a constitutional amendment to undo what the voters literally just did in November?
Because there's no risk. There's no risk. There's no risk of an immediate recall. There's no risk of the voters remembering long enough to vote you out next time you come up for the next cycle. There's no risk. I mean, we talk about this on this show all the time. Representative politics, where the representatives are doing whatever keeps them in politics and not serving the people. I mean, that's crazy, right? It's a crazy idea. It would make more strategic sense if there had not been a vote by the people at large on this, and some Republican just, recommended this constitutional amendment. But to your point, they are literally having to undo what the people have already said they wanted. So, like with all the crises we talk about on this show, this is a crisis of representative democracy, representative government. What is the point of having somebody go to the state house in Jefferson to allegedly vote on your behalf or vote in your interest if you can express your interest via a direct referendum and they can say, kick rocks, we don't care what you want? I mean, that's all this is. And that's what you see in state houses across the country, especially in places like Texas and in Missouri, but particularly in places like Texas, right? Where these crazies go to Austin, they go to my hometown right there in the state legislature and say, we don't care what the people want. We're going to do what we think makes sense, especially when, you know, you've got the ideology of this Republican Party who's attacking everything, and not only attacking everything, but telling people that they are going to implement whatever they, meaning the politicians, think is best as compared to what the people themselves say. So this is a huge affront to the entire process. This is another thing indicative of we don't care how the process is supposed to work. We're going to do whatever we want to do. And it's disgusting. It's particularly disgusting because if you truly believe in the way this process is supposed to work, then you can't be like that House rep from Branson, who I think is the main person behind this, who's talking about all of the religious underpinnings for why he's doing what he's doing, saying, you know, I'm a biblical such and such representative. I mean, that's great for you at home, but that is not how government is supposed to work. You aren't supposed to be strong-arming the will of the people because of your own ideological or religious or personal beliefs. And that's what you're seeing here. It's these politicians supplanting what they want over the will of the people who have, you know, demonstrably spoken in response to that recent election. That's all it is. They don't care, and there's no risk for not caring.
But, Michael, this is what Republicans do. We saw that they do this exact same thing when it came to a redistricting commission in Michigan and Ohio. We saw the same thing happen in Utah as well. And so whenever we see voters go to the polls, we see Republicans trying to undo what the voters just did.
Absolutely. I call Republicans the baby's kids of politics because they don't die, they multiply. They keep coming back over and over again. They keep trying to repeal, overturn. They don't stop. They don't give up. This is what they do. And what they're pushing basically is white Christian nationalism. This is what this is. This is white Christian nationalism, and they're trying to grow the white population as well. Okay, and this is connected to what the story you just did either yesterday or the day before, Roland, with Donald Trump floating $5,000 for new mothers, you know, expected mothers, things like this, targeting white women, white college-age women, things like this, so they can expand their population. And that was State Representative Brian Seitz, SEITZ, that Matt was referencing. And Brian Seitz said, I make decisions from a biblical worldview. Well, the United States is not a theocracy. Maybe you should go to the part of the world where the Bible took place. This is not a theocracy. The government doesn't operate based upon the Bible. That's all right in church. That's all right in home. But you can't. But these are the same people who will cut funding for children, for the poor, cut WIC payments, things like this. They'll cut that, but then claim to be Christians. Okay, so. This is outlined in Project 2025. This is white Christian nationalism that we're seeing unfold. So this is something that we have to fight. But shout out to Rachel Prouty. I think she pronounces her last name.
Yeah. That's her name, Rachel Prouty.
Yeah, shout out to her.
Folks, I want to tell you about what's in Virginia. Former pediatric nurse Erin Elizabeth Ann Stroutman facing additional charges for allegedly harming infants in the hospital, mostly black infants. A 26-year-old has been indicted by a grand jury on 6 new charges involving 3 babies. Her initial charges dating back to January stem from an incident on November 10th during which 3 infants in the neonatal intensive care unit at Henrico Doctors Hospital were found to have unexplained fractures. A criminal complaint pointed to video evidence showing Stroutman allegedly bending the legs of a 5-month-old baby backwards until the child's feet were near their head, which resulted in multiple fractures in the baby's legs and ribs. All right, folks, there's a deep concern in Rockdale County in Georgia after students at Honey Creek Elementary School walked into class and found signs reading whites only and colors only. The teacher says the lesson was meant to teach about civil rights icon Ruby Bridges, but the teacher reportedly used unapproved materials, sparking outrage among parents and prompting an investigation. One mother spoke out at the school board meeting, saying her child was hurt and she was shamed online for speaking up. The Georgia NAACP called the incident a chilling echo of segregation, demanding action, not just apologies. They said, let us be clear, there's no place in our schools or in any public space for racism, hate, or ignorance. What occurred in Rockdale County is more than a prank or isolated behavior. It reflects the ongoing need for serious, intentional education about our country's history of racial discrimination and the continued work required to build inclusive, respectful environments for all students. I mean, Derek, you're there in Georgia. I don't understand. If you're going to do this kind of lesson, you kind of might want to have some broader conversations so there's no confusion.
Yeah, Roland, but here's the unfortunate thing. The Georgia General Assembly just passed a bill, Senate Bill 36, religious freedom, that allows for these types of events to occur. I mean, you know, and Governor Kemp, he signed that bill into law immediately. And he signed it into law on the day we were recognizing the assassination of Dr. King, April 4th. And this is, I mean, he didn't waste no time, Roland. He did it on the day we were recognizing the 57 years of Dr. King being assassinated. We were talking about the life and legacy of Dr. King on April 4th. And on that same day, he signed into law the Religious Freedom Bill, Senate Bill 36. And this was one of the things, yours truly went to the well and said, if you sign this bill into law, you're going to start seeing colored bathroom, white bathroom. You're going to start seeing these things. And they were motivated, Republicans were motivated, Roland, when that orange dude that's occupying the Oval Office did an executive order to overturn an executive order from LBJ, executive order, which basically said that any contract, federal contract, if you abide by any kind of form of segregation, you will not get a federal contract. And so when that executive action took place a week and a half ago, the Republicans right here in Georgia put into motion Senate Bill 36, and Governor Kemp signed into law on April 4th of this year. This is what happened.
I just don't get, Matt. Matt, that if you're going to do one of these lessons, you might want to cross all T's and dot all I's.
Yeah, you know, look, to me, the biggest failure in this lesson was not letting the parents know the lesson was going to be taught this way. That's where I think the failure really exists, because it creates an environment where you then have to ask whether it was truly a pedagogical thing they were going to teach the kids about Ruby Bridges, or whether somebody, you know, was out there trying to foment hate, basically, by posting these signs and tried to cover themselves by claiming, oh, this was about teaching Ruby Bridges. I will say there's a part of me, a pretty healthy part of me, that says I actually think from a thought perspective, it's an important thing for younger people and people in general to be reminded of how recent the civil rights movement was and how real it was. I think we lose sight of that it was people, you know, in my own father's lifetime, he was sitting in class when his teacher came in and said Dr. King had been assassinated, right? And he tells me to this day vividly that he remembers her bawling her eyes out in his class. That happened in my father's lifetime. It was not that long ago. So the idea of having signs to teach children how serious this was and to teach children how far we've come, even if we're backsliding now, I understand doing that in a way that can be pretty demonstrative. I think the problem here, though, is if you don't let the parents know that, then it creates a confusion as about whether this was really pedagogical or whether there was something else at play, to Derek's point about recent bills that are passed and all the craziness that we see, you know, kind of in the national forum. So I'm not opposed to this as a teaching tool, I think, with the right preface, but it sounds like they didn't do enough of a preface, and that calls into question whether it was truly intended to be a teaching tool.
Listen, Michael, I believe these sort of lessons should be taught, but yeah, you might want to kind of do it right. Yeah, you may want to think it through.
Yeah, you want to get some help. So there are a few things here. Number one, when you look at resources for teachers, and I've looked at a lot of resources. I use some of those when I teach my classes and do my lectures. One of the things they tell you, and there was one called Teaching Hard History, American Slavery. And if you don't mind, I'll just show the document. This is from the Southern Poverty Law Center. This actually helps teachers teach about the history of slavery, and you can use some of those same lessons and cautions when it comes to the civil rights movement. One of the things they say don't do is do reenactments, okay? So this is a situation where it seems like the teacher had good intentions, but there are resources that can help them, like from the Zen Education Project. They have a lot of good resources for teachers to teach various aspects of history. Also, ASALA.org, which is Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which is the organization that Dr. Carter G. Woodson created, who created Negro History Week. So there's a sensitivity, and with these various lessons that come from these different organizations, they're also age appropriate. Okay, so it sounds like there was good intention, but when you start putting these signs up around the school, things like this, it can also be very traumatizing to African-American students. And this is something that we want to avoid. So you want to reach out and get those types of materials that are age appropriate and for educators, and then present that to whoever needs to approve it as well.
Again, if you're going to do it, make it make some sense and don't do it haphazard. That's really what the goal is. All right, quick break. We'll be right back right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next, A Balanced Life, we're talking about the stress of stress and trigger warnings, looking at those areas in our lives where we often don't turn the page or turn the corner, but giving us the ability to really take a deep dive and look at who we are, the people around us, and the ways in which we're triggered.
A lot of times we are so stressed out because we are trying to control things that are outside of our sphere of control.
That's all next on A Balanced Life on the Black Star Network.
Hey, this is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
Folks, NFL draft was last night, and all the talk is about Shedeur Sanders not being drafted in the first round after you had these different narratives being formed about him being difficult, prima donna, things along those lines. One anonymous assistant coach trashing him. Is lots of talk all over. Of course, the second night of the draft happens tonight. And I want to talk about this, Matt, because, I mean, here's the thing. This is what I find to be real interesting. You have these people sitting there going, oh, Shedeur and his dad is an influence. I remember a certain white former NFL quarterback.
With my last name.
Who?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the sons was named Eli. And I remember the dad making it clear to a team, do not draft my son. We are not playing there. But Archie Manning was called shrewd. But then you look at how they say things about Deion Sanders. Is there something missing here that we don't quite see?
I don't know. Maybe we do see it. Maybe it's the clearest thing we see, Roland. Perhaps. In terms of what we see, that's precisely what it is. It's clear as day. You know, it's funny. Right before I came on to the show, I saw somebody had posted this exact thing, talking about Archie, Eli, and Peyton. And in full candor, I don't remember his comments at the time. But one thing that the person said that I thought was really astute is they said a lot of the people that are on these teams now as assistant coaches and various management and executives are people who played in the NFL when Deion ran all over them and they couldn't stop him on the field. And they're still salty about it because the same primetime who was, a singular force back then is now supporting his son as such a, proud black man and unapologetic black man. And there's a lot of pushback on that, frankly. And, it's interesting that you say this because this is not obviously the same thing. He wasn't an athlete, or at least not as far as I know to the same level. But when I saw LeVar Ball, I remember all the pushback on LeVar Ball. And I remember thinking, like, what parent isn't going to be out there advocating for their kid, extraordinarily? So here, this is a lot of things at play. Obviously, race is one of the biggest factors of it. And the other thing is Deion's unapologetic. Right. And if you think about it, think about what Dan Lanning said when Colorado was winning. I mean, just the way he talked to even another coach before they played Oregon, he dogged him out. And he said everything he could in that locker room without pointing to Deion and saying his name directly in terms of, oh, this is a team where we work. This is a team where we do whatever thing, discounting Colorado and its success at the time. So I think a lot of that phenomenon is present here with Shedeur Sanders. And clearly, Archie and his people get a completely different license to do what any parent with this kind of caliber and background would do. But that's all it is. It's the thing we see clearest that's behind this and behind the judgment that the Sanders are getting.
I was really cracking up, Michael, to people saying, well, we get Shedeur. He's not going to be listening to the coach. He's going to be listening to his dad. Was Peyton listening to his dad? Was Peyton Manning asking his dad for advice? I mean, if you're Peyton Manning and your dad spent a number of years in the NFL as a starting quarterback and you're now a starting quarterback in the NFL, you might have a few questions for your dad.
Well, absolutely. And Deion Sanders is a Super Bowl champion. The man played 2 sports. So, of course, Shedeur Sanders is going to listen to his father. But one
Super Bowl champion, 2 sports, and has a gold jacket. No.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, played 2 sports.
Right.
Is considered the greatest defensive back in NFL history and has a gold jacket. I'm just saying, if I'm going to listen to somebody, I might listen to the person with a gold jacket.
But since Deion Sanders is also a college football coach, one of the things he'll probably tell his son is listen to the coach also. Because I doubt that he would tell his son to disrespect the coach. But so this is just a double standard when you have we saw something similar like this in Hollywood, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a well-known black actor who had helped his daughter or son or something like that get a job, get an acting job or something like that. Some people said nepotism, but then when there's white people that do the same damn thing, they're building a legacy. Okay, so I mean, come on, get as much money as you can from these people, and I hope he's successful. But yeah, Deion Sanders knows how to play this game, and he's going to teach his sons how to play the game and how to play the game to win as well. Get as much money as you can.
And Deion touted his son being a top 5 draft pick. Obviously, that did not happen. And people are now saying, well, will he go in the 2nd round? Will he go in the 3rd round? His brother Shiloh joked, man, they doing this to you, what they going to do to me? Both of them got a huge laugh out of that. But here's the thing. John Randall, of course, who played for the Minnesota Vikings, posted a video. He said, you don't have to be drafted to get one of these, him wearing his gold jacket. He was not drafted. And there's a guy who Shedeur Sanders talks a lot with, who probably is telling him, don't worry about where you get drafted, it's how you perform. There's a guy named Tom Brady, who was a 6th-round draft pick, who now is considered the greatest quarterback to ever play the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Roland, I'm glad you highlighted that point, because that's the point I was going to add to Matt and Michael. That's part of the narrative that they don't want to include, how Coach Prime connected his son with Tom Brady, right? That's the other part of that narrative, Roland, that they're not discussing about, you know, how Tom Brady is influencing the last 2 years of Shedeur. And if you look at the last 2 years, I'm just talking about the last 2 years, the number of records Shedeur has not only broke, but the football player of the year, right? He went from one college to another college. And so this part of this narrative around Shedeur, they're not highlighting that point about Tom Brady. Because once you highlight that point that you just highlighted, now you got to say, well, Tom Brady didn't go in the first round. Tom Brady didn't go in the second round. And so this is, again, a double standard, as it was already brought out by Matt and Michael. The last point I would make is this, Roland. I want to hear somebody talk about the nepotism of Donald Trump and how he's allowing his children to enrich themselves on taxpayers. Let's talk about that. That's a different kind of politics that doesn't involve in throwing a football, but it negatively impacts millions of people. If we draw that parallel of what's happening on the football field to what's happening in the United States, they don't want that narrative to be discussed.
Well, first of all, if you want to talk about nepotism in the NFL, all you got to do is look at the coaches, where sons and uncles and just they get jobs so easy, and black coaches don't. So, bottom line is, I think Shedeur Sanders, and look, he's going to play the NFL. He's going to be a great quarterback, and you're going to have haters. What they also cannot stand is they cannot stand black confidence. They absolutely cannot. They can't stand it. And I guess to some degree, some of these white coaches can't stand what they may want to call black privilege because how he grew up. Well, guess what? Suck it up. And here's the deal. Not all Deion's sons can play. His son, Deion Sanders Jr., he's the video guy. He's the social media guy. He's not there playing. So that's how it is. So just people just need to understand that these things happen. Look, the NFL, you're going to have these white coaches, these white executives. They do this all the time, the whisper campaign, and it effectively knocked him out of the first round. But bottom line, I think he gets drafted. Folks, quick break. We come back. We'll remember the life and legacy of Alexis Herman, the former labor secretary who passed away today at the age of 76.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
And this is a special episode that is near and dear to our heart, especially during Earth Month, where we're going to talk about how the environment impacts our everyday life and what you can do to help solve it.
The issue is that the movement has not historically created a connection with us and has had narratives that really speak to our unique lived experiences and the environmental burdens and hazards that we experience. So there's really a narrative shift that needs to happen for the mainstream climate and environmental movement to really position itself as one that is for all of us.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
Folks, I was flying to Houston, and I'm asleep on the plane. I wake up about an hour before we land, and I open my phone. I see a text message saying that Alexis Herman had become an ancestor. Absolutely shocked. She was a smart, brilliant, amazing woman. I always enjoyed seeing her, talking to her. She, of course, former labor secretary, very prominent member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a member of the Coca-Cola Board of Directors, and we always had fantastic times, chatting with one another, seeing one another. She broke barriers from the very start, graduating from Xavier University, helping to desegregate schools in her hometown, dedicating her life to opening doors for black women and working families across the country. President Bill Clinton appointed her in 1997 as the first African-American to lead the Department of Labor. She was a fierce advocate for raising the minimum wage, protecting child workers, and making sure that every worker, no matter their background, got a fair shot at success. Many remember her steady leadership during the 1997 UPS strike, where she helped broker a deal that kept thousands of workers on the job and food on their families' tables. Not only that, when I was honored with the Henry Hank Aaron Courage Award, that she was one of the honorees, and it was great to share the stage with her. A lot of people did not realize, Derek, that she had been sick for some time, and she passed away this morning. And she really was a major mentor for lots of black women who were getting into public policy, who were getting into politics, who sought her out. And of course, she also, took the mantle of the National Council of Negro Women when Dorothy Height died, promising Dorothy Height that she was going to make sure that the organization succeeded. And so we do owe a debt of gratitude, Derek, to Alexis Herman.
Yeah, I appreciate you lifting this dear sister up. She was not only just a trailblazer, she became the benchmark. I mean, when you think about it, when she became a cabinet member of Bill Clinton, she was the benchmark that every other black man and woman gauged himself by. I mean, not only she brought the intellectual curiosity and the experience, she demonstrated poise, she demonstrated the level of confidence. She was the one that former President Bill Clinton sent to have conversation with other world leaders. So when you think about, not just being a Secretary of Labor, she really was an example, in my humble opinion. She almost acted like a Secretary of State because she brought so much to the table for this country, for this world. She was a great example of what Black excellence looked like, and she continued even in her passing. My condolences to her family, but she was the benchmark that a lot of us looked up to first when it came to politics back in the early 90s.
Michael.
Yeah, I remember Alexis Herman when she was in the Clinton administration, and the first part of the Clinton administration, I was in college, and then I graduated. So I remember her as always being poised, intelligent, very sharp. And I vaguely remember the 1997 UPS strike as well, resolving that strike. But, this is, but one of the things I think is really important, and this ties to the story about the colored signs in the school there in Georgia, I think it was. She was instrumental in desegregating a school in Mobile, Alabama, when she was younger. Okay, so all this history that some people like to think is ancient history, it's not ancient history. This is recent history. She's 76 years old. This was in her lifetime. Okay, so I think this is somebody that we really need to learn from as well and dig deeper into her accomplishments, but also condolences to her family.
Indeed, Matt, after, of course, leaving the Clinton administration, she went corporate America, public service, and was just always involved. Always, I you know, and she was accessible to everyone. For me, the ability to be able to reach out to her and talk to her, to call her. I had not spoken to her in some time when we were talking about doing some work with Coca-Cola. Sat down with her. She made it known that she wanted them to do business with me and this show, and that happened. In fact, we've done more business with Coca-Cola than any other Fortune 500 company since we launched 6.5 years ago. And so when they say Alexis Herman was a real one, that's what she was, Matt. She was a real one. She was a real sister. She was a proud black woman who was about helping black people.
Which is your duty when you have a big megaphone, your duty when you have a big platform. You know, I usually take the opportunity now to talk about how long in the tooth y'all are and how young I am. I was 11 years old when she was confirmed, but I won't do that this time. I'll say instead that I hate that I missed the opportunity to see a lot of what she did while in office and the gravitas that they gave her to continue doing the work, like advocating for you and others outside of the office. You know, I was reading a little background on her because I was obviously young when she was confirmed, but I didn't realize that not only did she increase the minimum wage by 90 cents, I think in 1997, but she also fought off Republicans' plan to increase the minimum wage over a 3-year period, countering it with saying it needed to be increased over a 2-year period. And I think that's important because I think one of the most consequential movements we've had in this country and consequential just aspects of law and of policy that affects your average person is labor laws. Like, I mean, the 5-day work week, all the things that have happened over the many years have been pushed forward by labor. I tell you that to say we're in a crisis right now where we're watching a techno-autocracy and an oligarchy just get worse and worse, where the rich have more bargaining power and more, you know, say in politics than your average person does. So to have someone like this who made their whole career not only things like desegregation, but in fighting for, you know, the common denominator, the common person, that's crucially important. And that's especially important right now because we're watching the erosion of policies that help your average people. All the things that Republicans are rolling back now, we see that, you know, people like her fought for in the very recent past. So I appreciate her legacy. I wish that I had a greater firsthand knowledge of that. But it's important for us to continue saying names like hers and continue standing on the legacy that they laid for us.
Folks, we're going to pay tribute to Alexis Herman in several ways. First off, today's show, when we did our We Got Next series with Facebook, I wanted our OGs and our new generation leaders to sit down and have intergenerational conversations. So I chose activist Brittany Packdett to sit down for a conversation with Alexis Herman. We're going to show you that in a second. Next week on Tuesday, I'm out of studio on Tuesday. I want to do, out of studio on Monday. I want to do this when I'm back in studio. Tuesday, we'll have multiple guests on talking about Alexis Herman, what she meant to them and her impact as well. Then we're also going to, over the weekend, we're going to restream that ceremony in Atlanta with Henry Hank Aaron, Cito Gaston, Hank Stewart, Freedom Rider, and myself, and we were all honored with the Courage Award. So we look forward to doing that. And so, again, Alexis Herman, amazing, amazing woman, died this morning at the age of 76 years old. And so we certainly want to honor her as best that we can. Let me thank Derek, Matt, and Michael for being on today's show. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. Folks, if you want to support the work that we do, please do me a favor. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. There are multiple ways that you can give. Cash App is one of those ways. Use the Stripe QR code right here on the screen if you want to support our show via Cash App. And of course, you can also use that for credit cards. If you want to support us via a check and money order, well, there's a way to do that as well. So all you have to do is make the check and money order out to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Again, Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so I want you to do that and make the check and money order. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can also, of course, if you want to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, you can do so at bookstores nationwide. You can also, of course, get the audio version that I read on Audible. And so please check that out. Folks, if you want to, of course, we want you to support Fanbase. We're highly supportive here. We want Fanbase to add another 1 million users. And so that can't happen unless you download the app. So we want you to download that particular app. So go to Apple, go to Google, go to Apple, go to Android. Then you'll be able to download that particular app. Now, $11.7 million has been raised. The target goal is $17 million as part of this fundraising initiative right now. Isaac Hayes III, I saw that before we came on. And so if you want to participate in the investment aspect, get more information by going to startengine.com, startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. So please do so. As I said, folks, I am here in Houston speaking tonight at a gala. We're going to be live streaming that particular event as well. Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, my frat brother, is also going to be one of the speakers. Some 20 different community leaders are going to be honored, so we're looking forward to that. Also, control room, grab that photo out of Group Me. Let me know when y'all have it. I'm also here because today is the 78th birthday of my dad, Reginald Martin Sr. And so there's the image that you're going to see in a second was when I surprised him in the Dallas area a couple of years ago. And so we are getting together with friends and family, celebrating his birthday. And so he turns 78 today. We'll celebrate him with a big birthday tomorrow. My mom turns 78 in November. And so we have a party for her in November as well. And so hers is always around Thanksgiving because it's November 30th. And so we look forward to that. If y'all got the photo, go ahead and pull it up and show it, please. And so Reginald L. Martin Sr., my dad, happy birthday. Love you dearly, and hope it's a great day. And so we're going to have lots of fun this weekend and seeing lots of friends and family as well. And it was always important. And I was talking to somebody earlier, and it was a social media post that they were talking about the importance of us not waiting. I mean, a lot of times things happen, and we wait. We wait to celebrate. We wait to support someone. We wait to call somebody. And no sense in waiting. And so life changes, and so we should always be about supporting and celebrating and feting. And I always said, you don't have to have a reason for a get together. Don't have to have a reason for a party. You can do on your own. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to go to a break, and then we come back. We're going to have that We Got Next conversation between Brittany Packnett and Alexis Herman. I think you're going to absolutely enjoy their conversation. Thanks a bunch, folks. I got to go change, and then I'll see y'all in a bit from when I'm giving my keynote speech here in Houston. Back in a moment.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, inflation is on the rise. Interest rates are high. Can you still thrive during these uncertain times? On the next Get Wealthy, you're gonna meet a woman who's done just that, living proof of what you need to do to flourish during these uncertain times.
These are times where you take advantage of what's going on. This is how people get rich or richer.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Brittany, I am so glad to be sharing this moment with you.
I'm so glad to be with you. I'm always glad to be with you.
Well, I have missed being in your presence.
Likewise.
I see you
so
on
honored.
the telly. I get to see you on the telly, and I'm like, yes, that's my girl.
I mean, I've been watching you my whole life,
Okay.
so I am so humbled every time I get the chance to spend time with you.
Well.
And especially in this, I don't know if you remember, the last time I was in this building was during the 2016 elections.
Oh.
And a number of activists from around the country,
Yes.
we were rightfully demanding audience with our candidates.
Yes.
And you made sure that we could come into this building.
That's right.
And meet with Secretary Clinton.
That's right.
And you set up that meeting, you had us up in the conference room, you made sure that we were prepared, that we were taken care of. You've been opening doors for us forever.
Well, I remember that moment like it was yesterday. So when I knew we were going to have a chance to do it here at the headquarters of the National Council of Negro Women, it was like coming full circle today.
I love it.
You know, but I have to say something to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I think I know you right, and I followed your career. I feel like I helped raise you.
You did, and I'm grateful.
But I'm reading your bio. I mean, I'm really reading it. And I see, you know, I know you've been so active on the political side, voting rights, you know, what you did, championing the whole policy, legislative area around Breonna Taylor. I mean, you have just been out there.
Thank you.
But so seldom do I see in a young black woman's resume that one of my issues is equal pay. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
It just doesn't show up that way. So I want to know from you, you know, what got you on the economic side of us as a people, even to focus in, because you know that's my passion,
I know
right?
it's your passion. And I think that honestly, I was raised by two people who helped me understand that the holistic freedom of Black people is what mattered. So it was gonna be about our spiritual liberation, it was gonna be about our physical liberation, it is going to be about our mental liberation, and it's gonna be about our economic liberation. And that the points of access that we have to make sure that our families are taken care of for generations, that's what we deserve. That we shouldn't have to beg anybody for that. I was also raised by two parents where often my mom made more than my dad. And so we were never afraid to talk about money. We were never made to feel ashamed or embarrassed by that topic, because if we were gonna understand our own power, then we should always be ready to demand what we're owed and what we deserve. And I think that far too often we just are afraid to have that conversation, especially as Black women. And you've dedicated your career intentionally to Black women, from Mobile, Alabama, to the National Council of Negro Women, to your time in the administration. You have paid us such careful and close attention. I know that couldn't have been an easy choice. I'm sure lots of people tried to get you off of that.
Oh, very definitely. You know, and as you were talking about how we don't talk about it in the context of our families, it's so true.
Yeah.
And a part of the reason, I think, is because we just didn't have the options, we didn't have the experience, the exposure to teach our children, you know? So our own conversations were limited because of our heritage and our experience. But my daddy said to me one day, and I'll never forget it, I didn't understand it when he said it because I was, you know, a teenager growing up in Alabama. And he came out of the movement too, but he said to me, Alexis, always remember that one's bravery is in proportion to one's options.
Wow.
And over the years, as I began to internalize that, when you talk about all these areas of liberation, I chose the economic path because when I think about creating options for our people, it was about economic empowerment.
Yeah.
And when I learned, as I saw in your resume, that you honed in on the pay equity issue for Black women, I remember where I was and the age I was when I first even knew it existed. I was 29 years old. I had just been named the director of the Women's Bureau by Jimmy Carter.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm really pouring myself into data.
Right.
Trying to understand the landscape of women. Little did I know that Black women would, I knew we were there as maids and cooks and we weren't in the labor market really.
Right.
I had no appreciation for the pay gap that existed then and it still exists today, right?
It still exists today.
It still exists today.
And I'm glad that people are finally having that conversation, I think, especially in the context of COVID.
Right, exactly.
Right? This conversation about pay equity for women, but in particular for Black women, has everything to do with the fact that Black women make up a disproportionate amount of essential workers, frontline workers, grocery stores, restaurants, food service industries, hospitals. You know, we're nurses, we're doctors, we're wait staff, we are domestic workers. So many of the women in our community have been protecting us from the worst of this pandemic.
Exactly.
And suddenly people have been being forced to say, well, Black women have always been essential. So now how are you going to pay us like that?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And it gives credibility now to build the coalitions that we have to do to do something real for the first time, I believe, to close that gap. Because
what do you think those coalitions should look like?
Well, you know, it's interesting sitting here in this building. I learned so many lessons from Dorothy Height, who mentored me beginning at the age of 24.
Right.
But she always said to me, you know, if you're going to make a big difference for the common good, but especially for us as Black women, we have to lead the way, we have to teach others, and we have to pick partners who will understand the journey with us. She would always say, just because you get it, it doesn't mean everybody else gets it. And just because you know it's the right thing to do, it doesn't mean everybody else is going to embrace that principle. So our job is to educate and enroll. So when you say that to me, I look now at the various coalitions that are out there in the social justice movement. I look at this whole question of COVID, as you said, where parity for workers, especially for the women, for Black women who are on the front lines. It's a conversation you can have now for education purposes, okay? And then to take it to the next step and say, now, this is how you can help specifically.
That's right.
And the specifics right now are not just where you are in your own companies, your own corporations, raising the question, not being afraid to talk about your pay, your salaries in your work environment, which most of us don't do, okay? So you don't have a sense of the whole. But to know that there is federal legislation now that is going to focus finally, I think, on this question of pay gap. And it's not just the salary, but it's the other things that go with it.
That's right.
It's the child care support.
Childcare.
It's paid leave. I mean, there are a whole number of issues that have to support us as women if we're going to close that gap. You know?
This is the point, right? Again, that holistic liberation, making sure that we can live thriving lives.
Right.
I mean, we spent generations surviving.
Exactly.
So that the next generation could survive.
Exactly.
And the last generation is always hoping that the next generation will thrive a little bit more than they did. I mean, you know, you're sitting right in front of a portrait of your mentor, of Dorothy Height, which, I mean, goodness, she mentored so many directly and indirectly, right? But I look at her, I look at you, and I think about what the promise of thriving is, and that is actually our divine promise, that we deserve that.
We deserve it.
We deserve that.
Yeah, but you know what it starts with, Brittany? You have to have first of all, that belief.
Yeah.
That you deserve it.
Yeah.
You have to have that confidence, you know, and you have to have that vision that's really larger than yourselves to know that you can walk in this space, right? You know, because so often, I've never been one to go along to get along, right?
We know this.
But you really do have to know that if you're going to be a pioneer, if you're going to step out there, it's not a comfortable place all the time, right? But nothing happens without taking those risks, and you have to keep surrounding yourself with positive people who believe in you, who will keep encouraging you to keep pushing us forward, because that's the thrive you're talking about. I mean, that's the thrive, right?
How do you, I mean, I feel like so often we talk about firsts and trailblazers without thinking critically about the cost that that comes with. I mean, blazing trails means literally that there was not one beforehand. So you have to dig out all the dirt. You have to find the right pathway. You have to make the mistakes to realize we can't go left here. This is where you have to go right. I mean, you blaze trails your entire career, and then you are the first Black woman to sit in this position, not just of any cabinet secretary, but Secretary of Labor, which has everything to do with our ability to thrive and survive. How did you make space for your thriving while you were busy blazing trails in seemingly impossible places? Because we just never talk about the weight of that.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, I have learned over the years that for me personally, my formula has been, first of all, you have to be willing to take risk. I happen to believe that leaders are not born, that they're shaped by circumstances and by the people and events, okay? And so you have to be willing to take that risk to step into that gap, okay? But it's not about taking the risk. It's about getting into the habit of risk-taking. Because when you do that, when you create that habit in yourself, you know, the butterflies start to diminish. You know, the questioning in your mind starts to become less. You say, well, I did that before, you know? So it's a mindset you start to develop when you get into the habit of risk-taking.
I love that.
Yeah, you know? And I'd say the second thing when you talk about what it means to be a pioneer, and it goes back to something Dr. Haidt taught me a long time ago. When you're the only woman, the only African American, a lot of times for me, the only Black woman in the room, I sit there and talk to myself a lot. I have a right to be here. You know? And I know that I do bring everybody else in with me. I'm conscious of that. I'm conscious it's not just about me sitting at the table, but I'm opening the doors for other sisters to walk in. And so I carry myself in a way so that I am conscious that I'm just the first here, but there's gonna be 2 and 3 and 4. And then I find ways to teach and coach others about what those experiences are like. You know, I look at you, you're married.
I am.
A new bride, okay? And you say, how do you do it? You know, I came up in that generation. My mother said I was cause and purpose. You'll never get a husband, okay? And I did marry very late because I was so dedicated to my work. But you do have to make that time to nourish your soul, to let yourself be loved and taken care of by others. And so for me to see you in that space that you're in right now,
thank you.
And to know that you're doing it both, you're not making a choice. I made a choice. But this generation doesn't have to do that. I want you to tell me how that feels for you, because I want others to be encouraged by just your personal walk and that choice you made.
Oh, that's so sweet. You know, I mean, I feel so much gratitude at this point in my life. I feel gratitude that women like you made it so that we didn't have to make the choice, right? That you made sacrifices and tough choices so that we wouldn't have quite so difficult a choice. I feel grateful for an increasing number of men who are finding themselves stretching beyond the boundaries of the expectations of masculinity. So this idea that I make all the money and I make all the decisions and you stay home and do this and I'm out in the world and I do that, that kind of machismo, if you will, is becoming less and less the standard. And so I met my husband, Reggie, on the streets of protest.
Wow.
So I knew we had a values alignment immediately because you're out here taking the risks, right?
Yeah.
And then we became friends and I found out that he's funny and joyful and loves the Lord, which is a big one, especially when you raised in my house. And who, to your point, wanted nothing more than simply to make sure that I was taken care of. And I just believe everybody should be able to experience love like that. That kind of love that you grow into, that you grow up in instead of falling into. And it's so affirming, and I think that for everyone, however you get it, whomever it comes from, whether it's romantic, from a friend, from your family, everybody deserves that kind of affirming, protective, safe, supportive, and encouraging love. Because I've never felt like I had to be small. And there are so many spaces in which I constantly felt like I had to fight against the urge to shrink myself because I was being pushed to shrink myself, or that, is the implication.
Exactly.
So, we're not supposed to wear the bright colors. We're not supposed to wear our hair however we want. We're not, for a long time.
It's all about the fit.
All about the fit. All about the fit.
And wearing the mask.
And wearing the mask, right? And existing behind that mask. It's hard to breathe back there. But I'm trying to live. I'm trying to breathe. I'm trying to thrive.
Right, exactly.
I don't have time to wear this mask. And so to your point about building habits, if I can build the habit of not wearing the mask at home, then it's a lot easier to go out into the world and say, well, I don't have to wear the mask here either. Do you feel like you are seeing the fruits of your labor when you talk about investing in future generations, coaching and leading other people? Do you feel like you're seeing that come to fruition, or is there more for us to do?
Oh, there's so much more for us to do. There's so much more. And, I look at the issues, and whether it's voting rights, you call it out, okay? And it feels like, my Lord, we've been at this forever, okay? And the struggle continues, and it continues in different ways, right? Your work that you're doing with police brutality and being on the front lines there, it's a different level now from our generation, right? But I'd say first, the disappointment for me is that in many ways, I feel sometimes we're not making any progress because we're still fighting the same fights. We're still having to do what Dr. Hyde said. We have to continuously educate and enroll. And you think by now, don't you get it? Don't you get it?
That's what I keep saying to folks. They're like, well, I just never knew that Black people were being treated this way by institutions. I said, so.
Don't talk to me about folk being
Breonna
woke
Taylor.
now. You're going to talk to me about folk who are woke
Rodney
now.
King,
Let me hear you.
Emmett Till. Make it make sense. Why is it taking people so long?
And so in those moments, I have to really sit back and I have to take deep breaths, okay? And I have to recognize, okay, we still have to teach. We still have to enroll, because that's still a part of the way that we have to make progress. And I find the young women that I'm so blessed still to have around me, sometimes I have to work doubly hard to get past the anger, because there's so much anger now at where we are, and justifiably so. And sometimes, I want to ask for more patience, and it's like, no. enough, enough,
Yeah.
enough. And I have to hear that. I have to hear the generational message, okay, that we're tired of being patient.
Yeah.
And we've waited too long as it is for what should be obvious issues that we shouldn't even be fighting about anymore. So yeah, I'm encouraged, but I still have those moments of frustration, right, as we all do. But at the end of the day, I always say every generation has to define for itself what it means to move the needle forward. And when I step back, I am encouraged. And I'm grateful that folk like you are really on the front lines now.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me cry.
No, it's true.
I feel like I am often on the back lines, and there are people even younger than myself or the same age who are out there being so creative and thoughtful in ways that I never would. And I think that we are trying to do our best as a generation to honor the fact that we didn't come here alone and we didn't come here by accident. That it was the intentional soul force and willpower of people like you, so many of your peers, people like Dorothy Height, people like Nannie Helen Burroughs, right? People like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ida B. Wells, that we are here because of you.
I'm glad you opened that door, and I know we won't have enough time for this one. I mean, I already know it, but I have to put it out there. I think a part of what's going on inside the family movement right now, okay, it is this sense of, can we really honor the generational legacy that you're speaking of? Because so often I hear our young folk saying, that's old school, you know? We don't want to do it the way you did it, okay? And it's not that we're saying, you got to do it the way we did it, okay?
Of course.
But we want, I think, to feel more of a partnership with the movement now. And if you had to say to me,
I received that,
and my generation, what does partnering, working with, supporting look like for you?
I am honored by that question and have the same question for you.
Okay.
For me, I will say that I think it is about, first of all, affirmation. I think that as again, inside the family of the movement, as we more willingly expand to recognize the humanity of all Black people and make sure that women are not erased from the narrative, and that our LGBTQ siblings are not erased from the narrative, and our disabled siblings aren't erased from the narrative, and our siblings from across the African diaspora are not erased from the narrative, that we want to make sure that whatever we pick up from moments past includes them and welcomes them. And I know that that's something that you've been incredibly intentional about throughout your life and career. And I think that more young folks feeling that affirmation and support from more of our elders and our mentors will be meaningful, because there are some folks who were hurt. And when there are folks, in your generation who say, I love you and I see you and we're fighting for all of our freedom, I think that will start to heal some of that. I also think that one of the best lessons that we, if we are smart, and I like to believe that my generation is, that we can gain from you all, is discipline and longevity. That you all were have been continuously so focused not just on moments or bright spots, but that you have been continuously putting your hand to the plow and strategically moving things across a long period of time. Because we know it took us a long time to get to the place where we are, so it's gonna take us a long time to get out of it. And I think learning what it means to grind at this thing over the long haul, that's what we really need to learn it. And the more that you all impart those lessons, the better. Because that's certainly what I'm looking for. But I have the same question for you. What would make you feel partnered with?
Well, what makes me feel that I'm in it with you,
Yeah.
in many ways, is an acknowledgement of what you just said, that you know the history. You didn't play past it.
Yeah.
Okay? You understand that it took pain to be the first, and while we don't necessarily talk about all of those first, okay, there were lessons along the way. So you don't feel discounted in terms of what your experience and what your contributions were. I think the second thing, when you talk about partnership, is to be very clear. I know I can not just give you advice, okay, great, we can all do that, okay, I give it, I know you receive it, okay, but I can also come up with some ideas,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
and resources to help funnel where you're going and what you're trying to get done. So if I ask you too many questions, if I penetrated a little bit more than what you might be comfortable with, it's because I'm really trying to get the understanding so that I can be all in and not just partially there. And then I want you to tell me in very specific ways. In my own family, I do this with my crowd of your generation, you know. Okay, you need to, don't just go off on me. Don't just go off on me.
That's right, that's fair.
Okay, tell me very specifically, what can I do differently? How can I say it differently? Okay? How can you receive what I'm saying in a different way? You know? So sometimes you have to coach me to help me understand that. You know, I digress a minute here, but I go through this so much now in the workforce today, in workplaces today, with generational workers. You know, they don't want to stay long-term with organizations anymore. That was a value for our generation. The more years you put in, hey, you punch that ticket.
It's definitely different now.
But guess what that has led to? Your generation is saying, I'm not trying to stay here 10 years. I really am not. So I want you to develop me. I want you to impart real skills to me. I want to understand very specifically how you're going to coach me, because I want something portable to take to the next situation.
That's right. Or to the thing that I'm building.
Yeah. You know, so you have to know how you're going to invest very differently with your generation, right? And so for us not to bring that baggage of our history and experience, and for you to tell me quite directly what that looks like. Don't take for granted I get it. Learn how to break it down. Talk to me in real words with real situations.
That's a valuable skill, period. I am so grateful for you. I have so much love for you. I love you, and I love the way that you love us. I'm just so honored that you spent this time with me.
Well,
truly.
I'm honored to be with you because, you know, when you use the term, it's an old African saying, sawubona, I see you. But more importantly than I see you, I am through you. So you just keep doing it. I love you too.